my name is Maria Bech. I'm the CEO of EpiEndo. I'm Swedish, but living in Denmark and working for an Icelandic company. EpiEndo was founded back in 2014, and there we have our headquarters in Reykjavik, Iceland, but we also have labs in Iceland with the university and in Sweden, in Solna. And then a few of us sits outside in the UK, or me in Denmark. So what are we all about? Well, we are developing an oral drug for COPD. It's called EP395. COPD, as you might know, is the third leading cause of death globally, and there is a huge unmet need. What we are working with is a non-antibiotic macrolide, and I'll come back to that. But the macrolide azithromycin is the basis for our research, and that is already validated with efficacy in the clinic. We are phase 2b ready. We have a clear positioning after inhalers, but before biologics. And this is a multi-billion opportunity, and we believe we have an exit within 5 years. So just talking about COPD, third leading cause of death globally. The market is huge. The economic burden is estimated to be 4.8 trillion in 2030. The market is growing, and it's estimated to be $30 billion in 2033. And we believe that our case actually could have a peak sales around $5 billion when we get on the market. But we don't, and that is for COPD, I should say. But we don't only have COPD. We can also see a future in asthma and in bronchiectasis, also huge markets. And what is EP395 all about? Well, it started back in 2014 when the founder looked at what was published around azithromycin, the antibiotic, and COPD, and that it significantly reduces exacerbations in COPD with up to 50%. Several publications came out, but it also came out that a lot of these patients experienced increased macrolide resistance, antibiotic resistance, and that is, as you know, something you want to avoid. So what EpiEndo is based on is that we take the azithromycin, remove the antibiotic effects from azithromycin, but keep the positive effects that actually keeps avoids the exacerbations, the anti-inflammatory effects, the epithelial effects. And we have created a group of molecules we call the bariolides, and we have a strong IP and freedom to operate for those. And our lead project is called EP395. And EP395 has in the preclinical shown anti-inflammatory effects, not only with neutrophilic but also eosinophilic inflammation. And that is important in COPD. Asthma is an eosinophilic inflammation. COPD is a mainly neutrophilic inflammation, but you can also have eosinophilic inflammation. And corticosteroids treats the eosinophilic part. We have shown both effects in neutrophilic and eosinophilic inflammation. We also shown that we have effects on the epithelium and on macrophages. In phase 1A that we completed in 2021, we did see that we could go up as high as 750 milligram in a single dose and 375 for 28 days. But I think the most important results we got from this is that we don't have any hearing problems. And the reason for me saying that is that in the label for azithromycin, it is reported that they have experienced hearing problems. And we have shown in this study that we don't have that. We also recently, or last year, did a proof of pharmacology study. This study is mimicking one of the preclinical studies we have done, an LPS challenge model. And for those of you working with inflammation, know what it is. LPS is like a bacterial infection. And if you give mice in the preclinical setting an LPS challenge, you get an inflammation. And our drug then reduces inflammation in the mice model. Now we wanted to see if that is the same for patients, or healthy volunteers, I should say. So we pre-treated healthy volunteers for 3 weeks, gave them an LPS challenge and measured biomarkers. And we could see that what we do is that we reduce inflammation, but we also enhance the epithelial immunological barrier. We create a host defense response. We have also conducted a phase 2A study in COPD patients. This was a 12-week study conducted in Germany and in the UK. A primary objective was safety tolerability. We can see that we are safe and better safety than azithromycin because we don't have any GI effects like azithromycin. They are both an antibiotic and affect motulin receptors. We do not. We did not see any GI effects. And we had no adverse events around hearing. When it comes to efficacy, we looked at biomarkers, and we did see anti-inflammatory effects on biomarkers, similar to what has been reported in short-term studies for azithromycin. So with this, Oh, I should also add what we have done as well is a drug-drug interaction study showing that we are unlikely to result in drug interactions. We may be a victim, we might need to lower the dose in the future when we have potent inhibitors, but not a big problem. And this was actually our IND opening study. But just to show you in comparisons, azithromycin versus EP395, our lead project. We know from the preclinical setting that we both reduce inflammation and that we have barrier effects or epithelial effects. We both know in short-term clinical studies that we reduce inflammation on the inflammatory biomarkers. We have shown for EP395, which is not known yet for azithromycin, that we also have this host defense response, that we actually trigger the body to support in defending towards challenges, bacteria, infections, and so forth. And then azithromycin has already proven that they reduce exacerbations. We have not yet proven that, but being so similar, having the similar effects and so forth, we believe that when we go into an exacerbation study, we will reduce exacerbation at least to the same extent. What we have done more is to prepare for a phase 2b. We need to do chronic, because a phase 2b study will be a long study. So we need to have chronic tox studies. Those are completed. We have completed a 9-month dog and a 6-month rat study with a NOAL that makes us be able to move further into the clinic. And we have a tablet available. We have used capsules up until now. And for the future, and what we're planning now is a larger phase 2b study. It will be over 1,000 patients treated for a year at least. But we're also looking into the dose range prior to entering into this study. And we have a very prominent scientific advisory board that has supported us in this and has endorsed us moving further. And for those of you working in respiratory, I think you know that these are all the big names out there, with Professor Clive Page being chairman of the scientific advisory board, but also Professors Barnes, Chelly, Martinez, Vidisha, and Singh. So what are we thinking about exit? Well, we are out looking for funding now to be able to conduct our phase 2b study. We think that will take a few years to complete those, but we see a clear endpoint there and an M&A possibility or an IPO. Because having a proof of concept exacerbations in a large population should be interesting for big pharma partners. After that, moving into phase 3, and we think we could be on the market in 2034. Our IP is valid until 2042, and as I mentioned before, we estimate the peak sales to be around $5 billion. So really big market out there. So what is the competitive advantage of EP395? Well, we think we have a clear positioning on top of standard care. Patients who continue to exacerbate when there are bronchodilators or on triple therapy, they could go on to EP395. We are agnostic with the type of inflammation. If they have high eosinophilic inflammation, they can go on EP395. If they have neutrophilic inflammation, they can go on EP395. And we do believe we have a clear positioning prior to biologics. I think the advantage we have here is we're an oral drug. Mainly today's treatment are inhalers. The ones that are coming are injectables. We think we have a clear positioning after the inhalers before the biologics. And being an oral drug means tablets, mean lesser package, means lower cost productions, less transportation and storage costs, because we're not as bulky as the other drugs, or can be in room temperature. We foresee that we will be a safe drug. As I mentioned before, we don't see the GI problems. We don't have the hearing problems that is associated with azithromycin. Pneumonia is a common side effect with inhaled corticosteroids. We don't foresee that. The currently available oral drug roflumilast, which is a PD3, PD4 inhibitor, has also CNI and GI effects. We don't foresee that. So we do expect to be a safe drug moving forward. And we should reduce exacerbations, as we know azithromycin does, improve quality of life, and also reduce inflammation. And we've heard from our key opinion leaders that this really could be a game changer with our ICS sparing potential. So the take-home message, why should you invest in EP395? Well, it's clinically validated. We have seen similar efficacy as azithromycin have, and we know azithromycin reduce exacerbations. We do have effects on host defense response and are anti-inflammatory. And we have seen at least the same efficacy as azithromycin, and should probably be able to reduce exacerbations. We are an oral drug. We are bringing an oral drug into a mainly inhaled market, and we do have the clear positioning before biologics. And we have a de-risk project. We have gone through phase 1b and phase 2a. We have the drug interaction studies completed. We have completed the tox studies. We have a tablet formulation. We have an open IND, and we are on our way into a phase 2b study. And this is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. COPD is the third leading cause of death globally. The market is huge. 4.8 trillion annually is the economic burden, and we believe that our peak sales will be around 5 billion. So I think that was it for me. And if you want to get hold of me, I will be at the dinner tonight as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria. We have a question here. You started off by stating that you aimed for an exit within 5 years.
Yes.
What is the reasoning behind that timeline?
We want to have funding now for the 2B. We want to conduct the 2B study that will take 3 to 4 years. So that's why we say, and we think it is a clear milestone when we reach the proof of concept, have the dose finding reported, and then it would be either an M&A or an IPO. That is what we believe, because then we will need even further funding to be able to do the phase 3, which is more reasonable, I would say, a big pharma would do.
Mm-hmm. And have you started planning for large-scale production already?
Yes, we are doing. We have CDMOs in place, both for API and for tablet production and tablet development. Mm-hmm. So we have a tablet available. We have obviously not produced it yet because we will need the funding for doing 2B study, and it's too early to do the production.
Sure.
Yeah.
And a follow-up to that is, what is the production capacity?
I have no idea, but it's one of the big CDMOs in Europe. We are outsourcing it.
Yeah. I think we only have time for one more question. Is it correct that this will then be a second-line treatment?
Yes, because I think for patients having a COPD, they will always want a bronchodilator first, make it easier to breathe. Mm. This is a long-term and long-acting anti-inflammatory reducing exacerbations. So you might not feel immediately that it's helping you, but in the long run it will. So I think bronchodilators first, then we can come on board. And
will this somehow limit the target market somehow?
Not really. If you look at the GOLD guidelines, it always will start with bronchodilators. I think we'd rather have a larger potential here because we can go both into the neutrophilic inflammation I talked about, where there is really nothing right now, but we can also be inhaled corticosteroid sparing. So we can take a piece of that cake as well, even though corticosteroids are very often used.
Well, thank you so much, Maria, for answering the questions and for your presentation.
Thank you very much.